Hello lovelies, welcome to NARC Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. In this episode I'm going to talk about what narcissists actually fear. There is a bit of a myth, an illusion that, that the narcissist is this kind of unfeeling, macho, brave, kind of larger than life character. But the reality is that's just not the case. That's in part the illusion that they have created, but it's also in part the myth that we are all spreading amongst ourselves. So, like what is it, the Chinese whispers? We're all kind of spreading this myth. So there are actually a few things that narcs actually fear. How many do I get down there? 3, 4, 5, 6 things. All right, so the number one thing, and these aren't in any particular order other than the order that I wrote them down. So they reject true intimacy. They fear and reject true intimacy because it involves being vulnerable. It involves people actually seeing them for who they are. And that scares the bejesus out of them because they don't want anyone to see. Because if you see them and know them better than they know themselves, that's really, really scary. That threatens to destroy the entire construct. This false facade that they have created is now threatened, which means essentially their very existence is under threat by you, which actually leads me to number 2, which is the threat of exposure is what they're really afraid of. So with intimacy, as I said, they can't let anyone close to them because they fear this exposure, because they think that there's something so wrong with what they are and who they are that if you were to know it, you would have to A, get away from them, and B, tell other people about it. And if you tell other people, then that ruins their ability to source new supply. Because if you're telling everyone that they're a predator, if you're telling everyone that they're dangerous, if you've got the jump on everyone that they try and start up something new with, that, as I said, threatens their ability to source fuel supplies. And without fuel, well, they're starved. So the third thing that the narcissist is fearful of is they're scared of rejection. So they know that that the end is coming. They know that, but they also, it kind of touches on their abandonment issues, their issues from childhood, because they've never really resolved any of that stuff. They've never done any inward reflections. They've never done any kind of real healing. They're very surface level. They just suppress all that stuff and try and find a new supply source that's going to make it go away for a while. And with each new fuel supply and source of supply, it does for a while. That's why they go through that whole manic, excited phase at the beginning, because yes, finally they've just forgotten about everything other than that fuel supply, and life is beautiful and the world makes sense, and it's just fantastic for the week or 2 or however long that actual phase lasts. But they're scared that that person's going to reject them, and so they in turn start devaluing that person, so that if and when that person leaves them, they can say, to themselves at least, oh, she wasn't that good anyhow. I didn't really want her that much, It wasn't real. What we have, nothing was real. I mean, whatever it is that they tell themselves, essentially that's what they can do. They devalue their partners so that they don't ever have to feel the real sting of rejection. Okay, so the fourth thing, narcs are so fearful of being ignored. their entire reality is based on the attention, validation, and admiration that you give them. You and their other sources of supply. So when you're ignoring them, especially when you've gone no contact, that is like their worst fear playing out, because they need to feel potent. They need to feel powerful. They need to feel significant. And when you ignore them, the signals and signs and messages that that's giving them is saying that they're insignificant, that they don't matter, that you couldn't care less one way or the other about anything they say. And that really bugs the narcissist. That is probably one of their top, well, it is one of their top fears. I'd say being exposed would probably be the number one fear. But this kind of being ignored is up there on the list. It's high up there. All right, number 5 is narcs are fearful of humiliation. They cannot, and anyone who's been with a narc for any period of time will know this, they cannot laugh at themselves. They don't have the ability to laugh at themselves. When you tease them, even playfully, they get angry. They get angry and they make little mental notes. So they hate to be humiliated, to be disrespected in any way. Because you've got to remember, they've got this whole grandiose thing going on in their heads, you know. Not only are they important, you know, they're better than anyone else. And so if you are disrespecting them in their mind, you know, they just can't handle that. It not only knocks them off their own kind of pedestal, not have themselves on a pedestal, how do we put it? You know, they're grandiose. They think that they are more important than everyone. And when you show them that they are just like everyone else, or you disrespect them, or humiliate them, you know, that is like their worst fear. In fact, people laughing at them, that would probably be also right up there with their top fears. The idea of people talking about them and laughing about them behind their back, people seeing through them and exposing them and talking about that stuff, that would be their worst nightmare. And they get angry about it, but you know, who cares? All right. Number 6 is narcs are scared of aging and losing supply. So we all age, right? And we all have to come to terms with it in our own way. I mean, except me, because I'm 37 and I stopped aging at 37. But the rest of you have to come to terms with the fact that you are aging. The narcissist is fearful of aging because they are fearful of what the future looks like when they don't have the capacity to get fuel supplies. So as they get older, they start making, you know, they might settle down. They start making kind of desperation pics. And this is why you see the old narcissist and you think, what, you know, who is this that they're with and what is going on here? You know, they do these desperation pics. So after their marriages collapse, or, you know, they've gone through a string of victims and supply sources, and each one is kind of getting progressively less, I suppose that's the way of putting it. I mean, just less value. I mean, the reality is, yes, we are all equal as human beings. However, you know, some people put a lot of time and effort into bettering themselves, into being better people. We can't perpetuate a lie and say that, you know, that we are all equal in all senses of the word, because we aren't. You know, some of us work hard on our, you know, on, I don't know, things that are important. You know, we consider ourselves people of value and worth. You know, when you live up to your word, when your word means something, here we go. This is what I'm trying to say. You know, when your word means something, when you have integrity, when you care about your reputation, when, you know, you you care about, family and loyalty and commitment. In my mind, that makes you a valuable person. So with the narcissist, what ends up happening is that over time, the people that they surround themselves with, they kind of just gravitate down to the bottom. Over time, it happens. They just kind of go down and down and down. It's like a race to the bottom with a narcissist, because they are always trying to take the easy road. They're always trying to take the path of least resistance. And so they always end up with whoever was easier. And easier doesn't mean better. So as they get older, they end up with these people that are so, just not suitable on any level, just not necessarily good people. Their lives aren't what they used to be when they were in their heyday. And that is what scares them. They are so scared of aging that they, and it actually affects them as in they become reckless. They take more risks, because they actually don't want to get old. They don't see a future for themselves, being old. They will future fake their supply sources and tell them that they can see them on the rocking chair, on the balcony. But in actual fact, the narcissist doesn't ever picture themselves getting old. They picture themselves going out in a hail of glory, in a hail of bullets, in some big shootout with the cops, or, some kind of tragic motorcycle accident, or just something, something grandiose and theatrical. That's what they imagine the end looking like for them. The thought of getting old and having to source new supply, not ever having enough supply, it scares them. So, darlings, that's the top 6 things that the narc is scared of. And they are scared of these things, especially, as I said, this being ignored. They can't handle that. But being laughed at, and degraded or humiliated anyway, that will just send them into a tailspin. Because you've got to remember, the whole point of them needing fuel is because they already feel so bad about themselves. They're so kind of empty that they need your validation and approval and admiration. And if they're not getting that, it creates narcissistic injury. It wounds them. All right, lovelies. I just want to check my notes. Yeah, look, I think that really sums it up. I think that as far as the narcs go, you could almost feel sorry for them when you read it out like that. But no, you can't feel sorry for them, because that just puts you at risk of being a victim to them again, essentially. We all make choices in life, and the narcissist makes really bad choices, and that's just the reality. And you can't save people from themselves, especially when they don't want to save themselves. And you can't save people who will use you, so they'll literally push you down to save themselves. You can't save people who are going to hurt you in the future. There is no point in trying to save people if they are quite literally going to just then turn around and try and destroy you, which is what narcs do. Once you've gone, there is no going back. Once you've left them once, there's no going back. It'll never be the same. So just remember that. That is their top 6 fears. And this is Narc 3 Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me, darlings. And I'll see you not tomorrow, but the day after. Thanks.